So, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you I met earlier, welcome back. And if you're just joining me now, hello from me. I'm Mariana Evanstein, and I'm very glad to be back here once again for our next session, which is From Screen to Society, Culture's Cohesive Power in a Connected World. And it's kind of a long topic for this session, but really, to put it simply, hang on, I'm just going to move my microphone away. It's a little bit too close. I think that's better. To put it simply, for as long as human beings have existed, they have been telling stories. And the stories that we watch on screen, they don't only entertain us. They really help to shape how we see one another, and also in many ways, they help to shape how we see ourselves. The thing is, though, today, what's very different is just the speed and the scale in which this is happening, right? And streaming, obviously, is a huge part of that, and it's really becoming an enormously powerful amplifier of the power of storytelling to shape perceptions within and without. At the same time, this kind of power, this kind of amplification does come with responsibilities. It also comes with opportunities, which we want to embrace. But we also need to make some important choices about which are the voices that get heard and what are the narratives that are getting attention. We're going to talk about all of these things and much more. And to start us off, first, I'm very pleased to be joined by Mike Sneesby. He's the CEO of NBC Group. I don't need to tell you what that is. Of course, everybody in the region knows it's the largest and most influential media company in the Middle East, and it is also home to the very fast-growing streaming platform, Shahid. So, Mike, you've had quite a journey yourself personally. I know that you've founded and led a number of major streaming ventures and media groups. Originally back in Australia, there was Nine Entertainment and Stan, and you built that also into a streaming service. So having gone on this journey, how has that shaped the way that you see the media landscape that we're in right now? And also, how does it impact the vision that you have for NBC Group?
Yeah, well, thanks, Mariana. And I might move my microphone away just a little bit as well. Look, as we were just chatting about outside, the transformation that the kingdom has undergone in recent times is just incredible. And I had the fortune of working in the region 15 years ago. So I've returned after 15 years to see the strength of this transformation and how much impact it's had culturally and on the media industry, which I'm a part of. And we have the Crown Prince, His Royal Highness, to thank for the incredible vision behind this transformation as an industry, and of course the Ministry of Culture for the investment that they make, particularly around those important cultural stories. But I think one of the things that I see when I look at NBC's growth over this period of time is the way that it's centred itself around local storytelling. And local storytelling can't avoid reflecting on these things that are important in today's society. NBC's vision as a company is centred around our heart being based here in the Arab world, but telling stories that can travel around the globe, making a media company that's global with content that impacts people and enriches people's lives. So I reflect on what we did back in Australia, and I'll give one example with the streaming service Stan, which I founded back in 2015, around the same time that Netflix was launching in Australia. And we made a very necessary choice to begin investing in local original productions from the time we started that streaming company. And over time, what we found was the strength of local stories for us in Australia was what made the most commercial sense. So, as you say before, these things deliver not just responsibility, but also opportunity. And in fact, as the streaming world changed, and a lot of the Hollywood studios who used to supply us content went out on their own, original content became the entire pillar for the business and made it today. It's the largest commissioner of local content in Australia. And that same experience is what we've seen with NBC NBC Group as a broadcaster, but also Shahid with Shahid Originals. So, it is definitely true that the importance of these stories in local markets is critical, and it is a big responsibility, but also they can be important commercial drivers if you understand your audience and you understand who you're speaking to.
Well, can we talk about that a little bit more then? How do you get the right balance of, obviously you have commercial interests and you want to attract a wide audience, but you also want to stay authentic, you also want to stay rooted in the values and traditions and culture of the region that you're in. How does NBC Group balance those things?
Yeah, I mean, if I reflect on our vision as a company, the importance of having our hearts rooted right here in this Arab world, but thinking about the content that enriches people's lives. If you think about that vision as a company, it leads you to the stories that matter most. And if you think about what resonates best on television, it is the stories that are impacting people's lives. It is the themes that people care about. And I like to think of television, I think it's the most powerful storytelling medium, the one that can have the most influence and the most stirring of emotions in humans. But if you think about television, I like to think about it like a time capsule. And not only does it touch on the most important cultural aspects of the world that we live in today, but over time that changes. And I use the example of, think about what we watched on television in the 80s or the 90s or the 2000s in any country around the world, and it's evolved over time. So, what we centre our attention on today will be different to what we centred our attention on previously and different into the future. But I genuinely think we can align what is important now and what are commercial opportunities, because it's what the audience is demanding.
I do want to ask you about Shahid specifically. It's seeing tremendous growth, also in a very competitive regional landscape, other streaming services. So what's made it stand out the way that it has, both regionally but also globally?
Yeah, well, look, it's an absolute focus here in the region. And, for those who know Shahid and have seen its journey, its growth journey, it's focused a lot of attention, particularly here in the Kingdom. This is our biggest market and will continue to be our biggest market for some time. But what we're starting to do now is expand that storytelling across the region. In fact, we spent a bit of time this week talking about the strategy and where we take the next steps with Shahid. And there are a range of markets across our core zone of the Middle East, North African region, where we are a lot less penetrated as a streaming service. And of course, stories to be told which will drive opportunity for us as a streaming service and help fulfill that mission. So you'll see more of Shahid investment into the rest of MENA, but also internationally, as you say. And an interesting stat that came across my desk in that discussion is that Shahid today generates 20%, a fifth of its revenues, from markets outside of the MENA region. And that segment of audience and revenue is actually the fastest growing segment, which means that the interest in Arabic language content around the world is very real. Of course, we have Arabic speakers. The markets that are driving that international growth are the US, the UK, Australia, and Europe. And as I say, of course, there are Arabic speakers in those markets, but increasingly it's not the Arabic speakers. It's either second generation or those people who want to watch the stories, who want to understand the stories that have come from this region. So I think it's a really exciting opportunity for us as we look at international as a much greater focus.
We have just about a minute left for our talk. We could talk for so much longer, for sure. But I just wanted to ask, looking ahead, what are the opportunities that are the most exciting to you when it comes to entertainment and storytelling in Saudi Arabia, but also more broadly in the region? What's up ahead?
Yeah, look, it's no secret that the demographic in the Kingdom is very young skewing, and you don't need to spend much time here in the media industry to understand the dynamic of this new generation of individuals who are coming through and driving our industry. They're ambitious. They're extremely well educated, they're extremely nationally proud, they're tech savvy, they're more connected to the world than they've ever been before. And so I think that comment I made before about the time capsule, I think this generation is going to create that next time capsule on their own, and so the future is certainly very bright here in the kingdom.
A lot to look forward to for sure in the region. Mike, thank you so very much for sharing your thoughts with us. So we'll leave our conversation there.
Thank you.
So many thanks indeed.
Thanks.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we just heard the platform and the industry perspective, and now we want to hear from two creative leaders who are on the front lines of bringing stories to life and also making sure that these stories stay authentic even as they travel across borders. So we'll wait just another moment for the amazing team to rearrange our furniture so everybody has a comfortable seat for a conversation. Are we all set, crew team? I think we're good. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct pleasure to welcome the CEO of the Red Sea Film Foundation. Let's have a warm welcome for Faiçal Baltior. So here he comes. All right, they started playing the music before I got to my second guest, but no less grateful am I to also welcome my second panelist, who is Rami Imam, who's the acclaimed Egyptian director, producer, and founder of Think Big, Right Brain Media Productions. So, gentlemen, thank you so much.
Thanks.
It's wonderful to have both of you joining us. And if it's okay, I would like to start with the big picture. We just had this conversation with Mike, and we all know that around the world, no matter where we are, film and television have become such powerful tools for shaping how different cultures are seen around the world. I mean, nowadays you don't even have to travel out of your home to be able to learn about different countries and stories and attitudes and ideas. And it also has had an enormous impact, television, film, on how people see themselves and the critical lens that we put on our own societies. So it would be great to hear from each of you how you've experienced this dynamic in your own work. And Faiçal, maybe we can start with you. From your perspective at the Red Sea Film Foundation, how have you seen how storytelling can reshape perceptions of culture? So not just of Saudi Arabia, but also more broadly.
Thank you so much for having us. Well, in the Red Sea Film Foundation, like maybe the audience view the foundation as a festival, while it's beyond festival. Festival is one of the main pillars, but before the festival, it's touching the point of the whole ecosystem to support the local voices, international voices, to reach to all the globe. Starting from the labs, where it goes and focus on the projects itself. It's not just educational, it's deliverable basis. So it goes to the projects, work with the filmmakers, and for the last few years, what is the important thing and key thing, that the labs started before the festival, because the festival or the foundation realized the importance of education, importance of guidance of the filmmakers, where in the last few years, more than 100 projects that have been supported, that gained more than almost 40 awards internationally, that touches base with more than 200 filmmakers. 61% from them are female filmmakers. So this is a great start, and then taking this ecosystem to the fund that had a huge impact the last few years, with supporting more than 350 films that won more than almost 300 or 400 awards, that also touching base with almost 74 countries. Then going to the souk, which is the most vibrant ecosystem that's being built for the filmmakers to exchange, to view their work, to sell it, to also network and create new content. And there are a lot of achievement on that. then by, of course, the keystone, which is the Red Sea International Film Festival, which is already known, hopefully, by everyone. So all of that is coming together to take all the stories from all over the world, but mainly focusing from the Red Sea, local stories as a Saudi, Middle East, Africa, and Asia. There are a lot of successful stories that went beyond their countries, went to A-list film festivals such as Cannes. This year, the festival has, like in Cannes Film Festival, almost 5 films that's been selected across all of its competitions, 7 films in Venice Film Festival, and also in London Film Festival, and so many other festivals.
So really crossing many, many borders. And Rami, I know that you've worked on productions that are very much rooted in Egyptian culture, in Egyptian life, and still they're reaching audiences very far away from Egypt, which I think is fantastic. So what does make a story resonate across cultures, across borders? Why do people have this interest, even if they're from a place that's quite far away from Egyptian reality?
Hello, Mariana. Thank you for having me now. I think it's part of the culture, actually, having this kind of reaching, global reach, as we say, because it's part of an ecosystem, Mariana. It's the way that you're building your ecosystem. Egypt has been building its ecosystem since hundreds of years, particularly in the field of art, cinema, theater, TV. And up to now, Egypt has been a leading country in the entertainment section in the MENA region and GCC world. So most probably, it's building an ecosystem. So let me tell you something that we need to build ecosystems. We need to have lots of ideas and visions that are based on thoughts, statistics, numbers. We need to read numbers in order to build the ecosystem. And definitely in the Arab world, this has started. Definitely in Saudi Arabia, this has started building your ecosystem, your entertainment and creative ecosystem, which is based on lots of things. Number one, vision. You need to have the vision. Number two, I mean like the private sector and the government sector should be aligned together to build the ecosystem. Because, Mariana, we have many talents, scriptwriters, directors, renowned actors, and lots of crews in the Arab region. So all they need to be is they should be tied together in a very sustainable ecosystem. So that maybe has been done like originally in Egypt, having this kind of organic ecosystem. However, today we need to build a sustainable ecosystem that would lead the force of entertainment for hundreds of years. So we have talents in the Arab world that could compete globally. All it needs to do is to have 3 main pillars, I think. Number one is like talent cultivation. We need to hunt for talent. We need to put the seed for the talents. Number two is having an infrastructure. We need to have a proper infrastructure, including funds and investments. And number three, it's like we need to have the audience development and awareness. So in order to have this kind of ecosystem, we need to have all these pillars. Egypt has been a leading country in that, and now Saudi Arabia is like investing in that. I can witness that. I've been working like for the season of Riyadh for the past 3 years, and I'm watching lots of improvements and power in the Saudi region. So definitely this is a power to be noticed, and maybe this ecosystem that the Arab world is building could be globally achieved and acclaimed.
Well, I want to ask you about that. So if we want to extend the Saudi ecosystem, the Middle Eastern ecosystem, and we want collaboration with more global partners, how should that look? What kinds of collaborations, what kinds of channels of support would be ideal if, from your perspective? So either of you are free to answer.
One, two.
Please.
Well, activating the co-production, which has already started to be activated, especially in Saudi Arabia. Attracting foreign and international production to film in Saudi Arabia, which is important. It's not just about the rebate, for example, or tax incentive that is provided by the government. It's like knowledge exchange. It's not just a tourism attraction that is needed to be highlighted in such a film or a series. No, it's much more beyond that. Co-production is a key today to have this international knowledge to come to Saudi Arabia, and also the local films that can, sometimes like there are strategies that's been built local to local, but I found after a time that local, as much as it's local, as much as it will shine international, because internationally they are looking for new stories, looking for new stories to new talents that they want to see. That's why today we see more diverse film before we see only English-speaking films, but today we watch Korean cinema, we watch different languages that is very popular, not just in Saudi, but in the region and also globally.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I would add like few things about that, which is authenticity. So we need to start from being very local in order to get this global vision. I mean, like nowadays, the West is like looking upon us that what do we have as culture? So authenticity starts from the Arab word. So maybe people would like say that you need to put this kind of twist in your plot, creative, whether it's like cinema, it's drama, you need to have this plot in order to be reachable globally. No, it's not like this anymore now. You need to start from your local environment, you need to start working on your authentic subject, and yet you need to have this global vision about what are the most common senses and emotions that are globally dealt with. So I've been witnessing a lot lately in lots of platforms like Netflix, like Shahid. They're on common grounds of having most of the universal languages that everyone would go for, like a case for deaf and mute, a case for cancer, a case for emotions, family reunions. These are all universal languages that might approach lots of visions. And particularly, I think, building the ecosystem that I've already mentioned would make us a bit approach to the global world.
But what do you say to people who are concerned that there is this danger of diluting the local voices or the authenticity if we are appealing to a broad audience, especially with streaming services? Is it not happening, do you think? Or do we really need to be pushing back against that?
Well, I think dilution is a problem. I mean, like, this is a struggle that we need to focus on if we want to go for the global world. I mean, like, losing the identity or dilution is a major struggle that we need to challenge. However, it's not something that we should be focusing on for many years. We should be focusing on our authentic countries and authentic creative industry. I think this is our armor for that. So going for the global thing, I think now it's the time the global want you. I mean, like the universe, I mean, like the United States now with having all these kind of digital platforms, which are very strong platforms like Netflix, are looking upon you that what do you have to serve? What do you have? What do I need to have from you? I need to understand your culture. I want to understand your culture. Maybe they had enough of having this kind of vision about what's inside the United States, or they're having this kind of what's outside the US. That's most probably is a chance for us to do that through our authenticity. Again, Mariana, now the word is open. It's an open word. It's not limited as it used to be. We used to have in Egypt, back in the 80s and the 90s, we used to have just one channel to watch any kind of series, just one channel, which, by the way, with a very marketing strategy to have just one channel so that the whole Arab population would watch it on TV. Now we have multiple channels, you have multiple platforms, you have the digital, you have your phone, you have your cellular, it's an open world. So in order to compete in that world, you have minimum risks, like, let me tell you that you have minimum risks, yet you need to be authentic.
So we got the perspective from the director and producer, but Faisal, I do want the institutional perspective. How does your organization or organizations like the Red Sea Film Foundation push back against this dilution of authenticity or local cultures, even if you are still trying to appeal to a global audience?
Honestly, we learn a lot when it comes to this, and thank you for asking this question. And I totally agree with you, Rami. And I recall even specific films and examples that were picked globally because it was original, it was authentic, authentic. And this is what we work, and part of our main things in the festival for the fund, for the festival, for the labs, and for the souk is local voices. How can we empower the local voices without interfere? We found that local voices, as much as it's original, as much as it gets picked globally, not anymore. You have to internationalize your movie, or try to think about some other audience and try to be closer to them. You lose its identity, so the film is just one of the films that doesn't succeed. I remember in one of the local films went viral. It's been filmed in Saudi Arabia, in Jeddah. It's based on true story that happened in Saudi Arabia. It went so viral in 40 countries. It was top 10 most watched on largest platform globally, including Spain, Mexico, Argentina. So you have a film that's been filmed fully by Saudi actresses and actors in the heart of Jeddah that was viewed as a top 10 most watched film in Spain or Argentina or Costa Rica or new countries that it's their first time to watch a Saudi movie. Why? Because it was original. It was very authentic. And this is just an example of many other examples that even in the foundation we work and focus on.
I'd like to get your thoughts about the power of storytelling, or rather I should put it a different way, how storytelling can really be a form of soft power, as we like to call it, and not just for Saudi Arabia specifically, but just also for emerging creative industries. How do you see that working?
I see it, it's a tool or an arm to change lots of difficulties in the world. I mean, it's called the soft power. So having this soft power means that you have something that others might not have. It's having things that you can use. I mean, soft power could stop wars, Mariana. Yeah, you can use soft power to stop wars, to stop whatever you want to do. And definitely in this time in the world, soft power is very wanted. So soft power is not just a name. It's being seeded for hundreds of years. You build for having this kind of soft power. And soft power because it touches the heart. You can always talk to the mind. You can always talk to lots of people around you that would understand what you're telling. However, they wouldn't be able to feel what you're telling unless you have this kind of softness inside. So that's why it's called soft power. You're trying to affect the world without just having a bullet in your hand or a gun in your hand. So that's soft power. And this is a major element that each country should have. We have to be fighting for having the soft power, because even a writer has the soft power. Even a poet has the soft power. So that's the genius of being in the entertainment and media industry, of having the power to convince people without screaming, without shouting, without trying to ban something or alienating something. You just need to be whatever creative you are in order to be able to stop lots of things.
We did hear even in our previous panel the power of culture and art, the impact on the brain, and on how children develop and their ability to problem solve and to regulate their emotions. So I think that really resonates with what you
Yeah, you know what, Mariana? I've read lots of researches about the soft power and the comedy in the Arab world, or maybe in the world. And it was said that the comedy, whenever you laugh, you get this kind of dopamine and adrenaline ongoing, so you have everything happy around you. You're powerful. You know how to achieve things. Whenever this happens to you, you start having the good relation with your family, with your wife, with everyone around you. So this is what comedy does. This is what art does.
Faisal, your thoughts?
Of course, like if you think about cinema, it's just if you step back and see the cinema, it's one of the rare tools that when you enter cinema, you just give all your senses to that screen, and that screen, that director, such as Rami, who's good at this. You know, we've been watching your movies for a long time, and it's really touching us. It's just like not just a sense of humor, it's about the culture, it's about utilizing the cinema power and telling that story that came from the papers, from the script, into different acts, utilizing all the technologies in that closed form of art. It's something that is, sometimes you get into cinema, you watch the movie with a perception, you leave, you have changed completely. And I think most of us have seen that or have sensed that. And this is actually, personally, like when I was young, this is one of the things that made me get into this, because we have a lot of voices that need to be heard through that tool which called cinema. And that's why we are trying to have it alive with all of the challenges, either with the platform, which is great. However, the cinema experience is important, and also it's adding to that soft power another power, because using the technology, Dolby Atmos, this high quality with 4D cinemas, 3D cinemas, all of these kind of technologies that been added, it's just empowering the story to have a bigger impact.
I'm just thinking about what the two of you have just mentioned, and I just think to myself how we've all experienced sitting together with people around us watching a movie or a TV show, laughing together, crying together, and the power of that experience to generate empathy. And that's definitely something that seems to be in short supply in the world at the moment. And you as creators and those who are supporting creative storytelling have the power to maybe create more empathy through the art that you make. This is, however, a cultural investment conference. So in the last few minutes that we have together, I will ask a question to you about that. If you can sum up just quickly, what makes cultural storytelling? We've talked about the emotional and social impacts, but what makes it a worthwhile investment?
Again, as part of the answer is authenticity. You can get it back to authenticity so that you're like, if you want to invest in something, you need to study it well. You need to have the numbers, you need to have the statistics about who are the people who are watching, the target audience, who's listening, who's not listening. And definitely, Mariana, with everyone now, with the generations changing, it's the word of Gen Z, as we say now, Gen Z and millennials. So definitely investing this kind of talents and Gen Z, this is the future. I'm sorry to tell that now. We are people who are staying home watching the platforms, while Gen Z are the ones who are like on ground. So you need to culturally invest in the new generation who are going to have this torch walking through lots of paths, challenges. We need to invest in young generation who have this kind of vision, and actually they have this kind of ferocious challenges coming with AI, with the cultural, with investment, with fund being put all around. I think this is a very hard road to have it, yet Gen Z, I'm sure that they can challenge that.
And Faisal, maybe the final word from you?
Well, mashallah, Rami covered most of the points, but I think bearing in mind the technology and how it's, and I see that technology today has to be taken seriously. We usually, if you go back in time, anything new comes across the cinema, like the creators start fighting it, while they can utilize it in much better way and having it as supporter to have this experience or cultural experience as as something that can last for more. So containing and be part of the technology development because the audience are changing and they want to see new forms. There are basics that we have to stick to it, but it's important to bear in mind the audience. Second thing is the story and how to monetize that story. Today, for example, this is the talk that we have. Do we make, as a filmmakers, do we make an artistic movie that travels to the festival, make an awards, but doesn't make anything in the cinemas, or make a more of a comedy commercial films that can generate money and help us to the balance between both of them. There is no right or wrong. The balance between both of them is extremely important, not to go extremely artistic direction and not to go extremely commercial and obey what the audience want. So having that balance is important because we want the investor to get their investment back and invest more.
But as long as there are people who are dedicated to the creative process and to authenticity and to commercial viability and success, with people who, like the two of you, who are looking to balance all of these things, I think we have a lot to look forward to. And storytelling will continue to touch people's souls around the globe in the future as well. Thank you so much to both of you.
Thank you. Thank you.